The top story in this hour on BBC WM, anti-HS2 campaigners from the West Midlands have been protesting outside the Houses of Parliament. Demonstrators say the high-speed rail line is going to be a waste of money and will have a negative impact on the environment. Details of the first phase of the line between London and Birmingham have been published today. It's the largest bill ever to be debated at Westminster. It'll have to be voted on, of course. Trevor Forrester is from the Stop HS2 campaign. I think he's been down in Westminster today. Trevor, good evening to you.
Good evening.
How many people have been protesting today?
Well, there's been over 1,000 people, but it's not just a protest outside and flag waving. We organised for the whole afternoon a lobby day, and we've had 2 massive committee rooms and over 100 MPs that have come down talking and explaining their position on HS2, which is basically far different than what the government is spinning it.
So what are they saying?
Well, they're saying, obviously the ones that are absolutely anti would vote against the bill no matter what. But many of them saying, such as Michael Fabricant, who says that he will not vote for any for any hybrid bill, the new hybrid bill, with HS2 in its present form. So, although he voted for the previous bill, he will not vote for this bill if HS2 is still on the table, the way it is today.
Right, because this sets out in a minute detail, really, exactly what the government wants to build and where. Copies freely available. You can go to your local library. You can go online. I mean, that's a good thing. So have you examined it in fine detail yet or not?
Examined it, Paul. It came out about 3 hours ago, and it's 55,000 pages long.
Indeed.
Now try and explain to me how many MPs are going to read that, and that's 55,000 pages. And that only relates to Phase 1, which is between London and Birmingham, or Phase 1.
So are you saying it's too detailed? Is there too much information? Are they trying to just confuse people? I don't know.
They're trying to confuse people. I mean, it's the way these hybrid bills are, and a hybrid bill of that size, based on a project of this nature, is probably about right because it incorporates what's termed an SEA, which is the strategic environmental assessment, which they've failed to carry out so far. Now, if this JR, the Judicial Review, goes in our favour in December, towards the end of December, with 7 High Court judges, that'll derail the whole of this for 7 or 8 years, because it will mean that they've got to go off and do a strategic environmental assessment for every single route that they've rejected.
You're still confident, Trevor, that you can get this on the back burner, are you?
I'm more confident now after listening to most of the MPs, especially the Conservative MPs, who make the statement, the bold statement, something I've always believed, we've always believed, that Labour will derail this. And Ed Balls has already got the money earmarked, but of course what they have to do is push it through, make sure there's a budget, and then they can use the budget for something else. And I think it's dirty politics. And I think even today we've had McLaughlin, who's written in the Telegraph that this thing will start in about 4 months. Now that's the words of desperation, words of a desperate man who knows he's losing the public argument.
From your perspective, is it the cost of it? Is it the environmental issue from your perspective that's the most important?
It's every issue. It's unnecessary. We've heard from probably about 10 senior rail experts today in the committee rooms that it's absolutely unnecessary. There's alternative strategies for sort of 10 or 15% of the cost. And 50 billion when we've got, a national health service that's failing. We've got the police service, which is being cut down to nearly 50% in some areas. And we've got kids coming out of college and getting married and can't afford a house, and there's no affordable housing. And I think that's what Ed Balls will do.
But just before I let you go, I mean, this whole project, I mean, there was a study prepared by Network Rail and the management consultancy Atkins that said that without it, there would have to be thousands, I mean, close to 3,000 weekend closures on the East Coast, the West Coast and the Midland Main Lines to increase capacity to cope with the demand. Capacity seems to be the major issue that the government are peddling. That seems to be the major reason for building it.
Well, you're talking about, it wasn't Atkins, it was KPMG. And you're talking about the 15 billion invisible document, which the Committee for Oversight under Professor Tominey, who is the one who he worked on the initial phases of HS2, and is probably one of the world's leading experts, who's made the comment that report is fantasy.
But if we do nothing, we'll grind to a halt.
Well, if we can do something. You know, there's the alternative strategy, which is being laid down by 51M. The alternative strategy is the work on the West Coast Main Line, dealing with the pinch points, work on the East Coast Main Line. I mean, we've heard today from I think he's a minister of infrastructure, and his proposal that he's put forward to government, which will cost no more than about $9 billion, and will solve all of the issues over the next 50 years to 100 years without spending $50 billion.
Trevor, I wish you well. Thanks for joining us tonight. Trevor Forrester from the Stop HS2 campaign. They've been down in Westminster, as you heard, meeting quite a few MPs as well. We had Tony Miles on the show just after 4 from the Modern Railway magazine. He was in favour of HS2, saying, think of your children or your children's children. Barry says, yeah, think of the children. Richard Branson's, Paul McCartney's and the Duke of Westminster's kids. At least they'll be able to afford a ticket. The rest of us will be able to wave as it flashes by.